Seated. I love Christmas. I love everything about Christmas. Every time I get around somebody that's a humbug person, I want to slap them. We have such a great and an amazing story that the whole world uses it. I want you to understand that this story is so powerful that the whole world will shut down in the next 2 days. That people that don't even believe in Jesus will take the day off. People that don't even buy this, think that they debunk it. It stops the whole world. Think about it. Every economy in the world is driven by this holiday. Every government in the world stops and takes the day off because of this holiday. And yet, if we're not careful, we just humbug through it and go, well, look what they've done with it. No, it's not about what they've done with it. It's that you've forgotten to be excited about it. It's that we aren't as arrested by it because we're familiar with it. And we don't quite understand the reality of that once God was present as a man, we've won. I mean, once God inhabits one man, then every man and woman can be inhabited by God. That once one man can live victoriously, every man can live victoriously. That once one man breaks the power of death, then every man breaks the power of death. That our freedom was purchased because God came to us. Contrary to the lies of religion, we don't have to earn our way into His presence, but by grace He comes into ours. Listen, the biggest fallacy that hinders humanity is not the powers of the world, but the stupidity of religion that keeps men bound to their own behavioral acquisition. I bring to you is the announcement. Not that you brought to me, but I bring to you. Come on, I bring to you good news of great joy. I want to slap about half the church. They're not bringing good news. They're bringing bad news, you filthy, no good, rotten sinner. You're going to go to hell. That's not good news. The good news is not about where you're going to go. The good news is where He has come. He has come to us. We're living today in the expectation of His coming again. The news is He's come to us. And we're standing there going, well, I wonder where we're going. Honey, you don't understand. He's with us. Wherever He's going, I'm going. I mean, she looked at her mother-in-law and said, if you're going, I'm going. If your people are those people, they're my people. That's the celebration of this reality. He's come to us. And to understand that we have the ability to step into every culture, in every place, and go, oh, you've got a statue to an unknown God. Oh, there's a God you don't even know, but you worship anyway. You make statues to it. You dress them up in red suits, put beards on them, and everything else. Let me tell you, I know who that is. Some of you have been battling Santa Claus so long that you've forgotten that if you'll be honest about it, you can explain why the myth of Santa Claus exists. Instead of trying to tear down myths, would you please encourage your children to use their imagination and step into that which is unknown? Some of you are so cerebral, you've been to explain something that can never be explained. It can only be experienced in the mystery of faith. I've never tried to tear down the ideal of Christmas. I've never tear down the idea of Santa Claus. I've just said, listen, St. Nicholas was born on the realities of Christ. And I just try to recover it. Here, let me tell you what that really is. Let me tell you how the world has taken our truth, used it, and how we can recover it if we just can recognize it and quit fighting something. Watch every Christmas movie that comes along. I've seen Charlie Brown's Christmas so many times I can repeat it. It's a wonderful life. My favorite has been, for the last several years, Elf. I just love that movie. And I watch it with my grandkids, and we enjoy it. And we enjoy it because embedded inside of it are these truths that we can recover. And it's interesting to me. I was sitting watching it with them the other day again, and we just stopped it. You know, I love TiVo. Bam! And I back it up. I said, catch that. Catch that. What is the spirit of Christmas that if we're not careful we miss? What is that spirit of excitement that if we're not careful we miss? What is that thing? You do understand that without the ability to step beyond rationalism, without the ability to step beyond humanism, without the ability to step beyond science and step into that mystery of it, oh, come on. Gary Wright wrote a song called Dream Weavers. If you're born in this, if you were a kid in the 70s, you know how, oh well, wrong thing. Abraham had a dream. He had a dream that he would have a child and that child would have a home. He had a dream. The father of our faith had believed and ordered his life because he had a dream. His son Jacob had a dream about being over this country. He had a dream and he had to trust God for a dream. Joseph, Jacob's son, had the dream of people bowing and he went into captivity and he became the savior of Israel because he had a dream. Do you understand that our faith is built on people that have dreams and visions? That God can never reach us through our cerebral realities, but He has to most of the time put us to sleep to really speak to us. Because if not, we argue with what we think we know. There wouldn't even be a Christmas if a man by the name of Joseph hadn't had 4 dreams. I mean, he had to have a dream. Marry the girl, it's of God. Marry the girl, it's of God. Had another dream. Run to Egypt and protect the child because the child is mine. Go back to Galilee, to Nazareth, because it's time. But stay in the rural part of the world. Listen, the best things of life come from the rural part of the world. This is not the great cities. It's the rural part of the world where Christ hides himself in the common people. Listen, the dream of things happening at Christmas. Christmas is a time where we reboot the fact that our faith cannot simply be described by our teachings, but has to be experienced in the mystery of how God gives dreams to people in order to change their lives. The power of Joseph is not that he was willing just to dream the dream, but he was willing to order his life based on a dream. Most people in this room order their life based on their logic rather than based on the dreams that come to us when we're about half asleep. Oh, if you stop and you think about it, you'll recognize that you solve most of your problems with dreams. That the supernatural powers of God come to us in those moments when we are resting in God and He speaks to us. How many of you have ever discovered the answer to something about yourself or the situation that you're going through when you were asleep? Woke up with a solution to the problem that you were facing because you had something take place while you were asleep. See, to understand that Christmas causes us to reevaluate how God speaks to us. That Christmas causes us to understand that we are a people who trust and rely in the voice of God that many times comes to us beyond the ability of the acquisition of the human mind. It causes us to transcend and live in that, pardon me, magic of heaven. And rather than trying to rob that of our children, maybe we ought to stroke that a little bit. Because if we don't, people are going to be left to their own reasoning. And can I tell you, their own reasoning today is screwing up the world. They're trying to figure out who's this and who's that and how to do this, and they can't even solve the problems. The problems aren't solved because humans get smart. The problems of humanity are solved because we trust in someone beyond ourselves. Someone's other than ourselves who breaks into our life, maybe, just maybe, if we'd stop and realize one of the greatest problems of the 20th century was solved because a man said, I have a dream. And when he said, I have a dream, he began to push forward the equality of the races. And some of you in this room are too white to understand how powerful that is. But human problems are resolved when people begin to have hope in something that's beyond their ability. And when we hope in something that's miraculous, we talk a lot about healing in this room, a lot about the miraculous in this room. You want it, you're going to have to make it be every fiber of your being. You can't just want it when you're sick or want it when it's convenient. You got to realize that God works miraculously to bring a baby to us, and that He works through dreams and visions, and that means you cannot allow the culture of the world today to put you in some sort of scientific box. You have to stay in that mystery and that anticipation of the Christ coming through a virgin. God knows how to break in to our lives and break down the stress, help us to envision a future full of promise, and encourage us to move ahead into those unknown steps that lie for us. The question today might be, if God calls you to action through a dream, would you say with Mary, let it be? If God spoke to you in an angelic way, would you have the ability to go, yes? What dreams and messages are you receiving from God? That's the question of the hour. How is God calling you to pay attention to His voice and not to those that are spinning in the culture today? Where is God leading you in your life? What dreams are inspiring you to follow after Christ in fresh ways? When you see people who cannot dream, you know that the spirit of Christmas is lost. When, without the ability to dream, there is no faith. Without the ability to step into that childlike experience, we have to recognize that God uses unlikely people, shows up in unlikely places, reveals an unlikely king, and causes an unlikely praise. I would not have chose shepherds. Shepherds are uneducated. Shepherds are the marginalized. They're the street sweepers. My God, they take care of the things that nobody else wants to take care of. And yet the night that the Christ was born, He told the shepherds. He didn't tell the rulers. The night the Christ was born, the night that this world encountered grace, the night that heaven touched earth, the night that evil faces this unconditional love, the night that darkness was penetrated by the glory of God, He doesn't speak to religious people, He speaks to regular people. Extraordinary people. He speaks to you and to me. He doesn't show up at the Vatican. He doesn't show up in Springfield. He doesn't show up those places. He shows up out where people are taking care of sheep. He shows up in the everyday areas of our life. Do you understand? He's talking to you and me today in Hutchinson, Kansas, about the coming of God into this world. He doesn't talk to rulers. Listen, your leaders are never going to hear God. You're silly. Leaders never hear from God. Children hear from God. Zachariah, no. It was a little boy, Samuel, who was 8 years old. He hears from God. Not your leaders. We're going to have the... No, honey. It's a grassroots movement. It's not from the top down. It's from the bottom up. You need to be listening to these kids running around here because they know more about the magic of God than you do. They're not all filled up with all these file drawers and downloaded information off Google. They just know God loves them. Oh, notice how quiet it gets in this room. It's never going to be leaders that save the world. It's going to be the childlike faith of people that are willing to suspend what they think they know and be surprised by who they get to meet. He doesn't speak to leaders of religions. He doesn't speak to rulers. He speaks to regular people. The downtrodden, the distressed. He speaks to the different and the despised. He speaks to unlikely misfits. He speaks to people that are nobodies and calls them to be devout. Why a shepherd? Why a shepherd? Because they had this responsibility of taking care of sheep. See, the Pharisees of the moment when Christ was born thought they were God's people because they kept the law. Because they kept a higher moral standard than all the other peoples of the world. Because they were clean and they didn't look and they didn't touch and they didn't smoke and they didn't drink and they didn't sin. And therefore they were the people of God. That's not even the truth. The reason they were God's chosen is because every year God killed a lamb to cover the stupid stuff they'd done the year before. They weren't God's chosen because they could keep the law. They were God's chosen because God shed blood to cover the fact they didn't keep the law. The law isn't something you aspire to keep. It's something you go, oh, I broke the law. I'm sorry. See, the Ten Commandments are given so you know what to be sorry about. The Ten Commandments point out that none of us are perfect. The Ten Commandments reveal we can't do this on our own. The blood of the Lamb is what covers us from having broke the law. The shepherds had the job of keeping the sheep which covered the law. Are you in this room? It's interesting to me how God always puts the sheep, a shepherd over sheep. You know why? Because a shepherd keeps the sheep from being lost. They're out there in the hills of Bethlehem taking care of the very thing that would forgive the arrogant rulers of Jerusalem. Are you understanding? Why does the announcement come to shepherds? Because they got the most important job in the world. And that is to protect the sheep. The sheep that would cover the sins of the people. The Lord is my, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. The metaphor of coming to the shepherd is so powerful. Don't miss it. In the hills of Bethlehem, they were covered with these sheep bleeding because in just a few short months they would be killed to forgive the sins of the arrogant people. Shepherds knew how to save sheep. Unlikely people. To an unlikely place, Bethlehem. It's like Sebri. Where's Sebri? My point. He goes to Bethlehem. Can I tell you, he didn't go to Jerusalem. He didn't go to Jerusalem. He didn't go to New York City. He won't go to Springfield. He's not going to Dallas or Tulsa. He's not going to Toronto or that other place that you think. He's not going to Bethel, Redding, California. No. He's going to show up in Bethlehem. He's going to show up in Severy, Kansas, Yoder, USA. He's going to show up in those out-of-the-way places that no one wants to go to. He's going to show up in that place where there's no reason to go, but I'm going to go anyway. Some of you are waiting for him to land in Jerusalem. He's going to land on the Mount of Olives. That's a different spot. He's going to land where nobody expects him to land. He's going to show up in your house. He's going to show up in my house. He's going to come to you. You don't have to go to him. This isn't about a pilgrimage you got to make. It's about a journey he's taken. And he shows up in Bethlehem. Why? Because they have an ICU unit. Because in Bethlehem, they had these birthing units for lambs. He didn't need an inn. He needed an ICU unit. He needed a place where the lamb that was born perfect would be maintained perfectly. So that's where they wrapped the legs of the lamb together so the lamb couldn't kick itself and bruise itself. They knew how to take care of baby lambs. God's going to show up in places where we know how to take care of children. Most important thing this place does around here is not sing and not me preach, but the way we take care of children because they're the hope of the world. Abraham, I'm going to choose you because you know how to teach your children. Some of you need to get off your fanny and join the work of taking care of children. Oh, that got no amens, not one. Children, they're the hope. God shows up in places where there's ICU units to take care of innocent people. He didn't show up where you'd think he'd be born in a mansion, right? No. He wasn't born in a mansion. He was born in a manger. There wasn't any military force around him to protect him either. There was a 15-year-old girl and a confused man by the name of Joseph and a bunch of shepherds taking care of sheep and a camel and a goat. God didn't need military force to protect him. He used his created order. Honey, I don't need a military force to take care of me. I need God. Amen. Some of you have put your trust in might, and that might will never protect you. What will protect you is the love of the creation that God has put around you. He created the world and put you in the world. He came into the midst of his creation because creation itself will protect him. This child who was born to die didn't come with rubber gloves or hazmat suits or armor. He came and laid in this little mundane town with a manger and allowed people, you and me, to protect him. Some of us need to stand up and protect the message of the Christ. He comes in vulnerability. He comes with accessibility. Why a manger? Because everybody could come. No one needed an appointment. No one had to meet the criteria. Shepherds, wise men, goats could come in. Listen to me. Every one of you are allowed to come into the presence of God. Every one of you can come. You don't have to be this or that or the other. You're just welcome to come into this little unlikely place. An unlikely prince, right? I told you, children. About 20 years ago, I was doing this church growth thing. This is left turn, right turn, whatever. This is a squirrel. Reminds me. And these people, they came and they were going to put us on the map. And they watched our videos and they watched several things, listened to me preach. They said, well, there's just one thing. You're too transparent. You can't, at that time, Joe sang on the stage. How many remember Joe? Joe was this little Down syndrome boy. He grew to be a man, and he danced like Elvis. And we handed him a mic, and they said, you got to get rid of Joe. And then all those kids you got jumping around, you got to get rid of that because it doesn't present well enough. And I thought, well, I guess we'll never be famous. Did you get it? Okay, because I don't care. If I have to stop being who I am in order to, so, man, I go over that place, those kids do anything. Almost. This unlikely prince, this baby. He doesn't come the way we think he ought to come. He doesn't look the way we think he ought to look. This almighty, powerful creator of heaven and earth, sustainer of all things, the Lord of lords, the King of kings, the Alpha, the Omega, the lily of the valley, the ruler of the universe, comes as a child. He comes in this ability to give himself. He comes and surrenders and submits himself, announcing himself to unlikely people, being born in an unlikely place, in an unlikely form, for an unlikely purpose. He came to make peace. He's called the Prince of Peace. He said his peace would spread through the world. Church, we're supposed to be the carriers of peace, not division. I'm so waiting for the pulpits to wake up and have the guts to say, this is about peace, not war. This is about losing my life for my enemies, not taking the life of my enemy. You have to understand the Prince of Peace didn't fight back. He laid down. He came to announce peace, not because there was a negotiated peace, but because he would die for those who wanted his death. That's who we follow. That's what it means to be a Christian, is to surrender my right, to surrender my need, to be in control and in charge, and to lift my arms high and say, Father, forgive them, for they know what they do. It's mercy and peace and grace that will challenge the world, that will challenge our times. Is it scary? Sure is. It's scary to follow in the footsteps of the Christ. It's scary to believe that we are called to live in an attribute of peace. The world's wage war trying to find it. Leaders strike deals to maintain it. Militaries establish boundaries to control it. People take pills to achieve it. They drink to forget it. People look to politicians who promise it. Governments fight for it. And all the while we ignore the one who came and gave it to us. His name is Jesus. And I have a dream that as we would look to and follow after the Christ who was born in a manger, we would begin to experience the peace that we so longingly hope for. Notice how quiet it gets in this room, because the birth of a baby will confront every attitude of humanity. It will confront everything that we have put our life on. To think that the birth of a child solves all of humanity's issues. We can disagree, but if I hand you a baby, we are suddenly at peace with one another. I'll promise you. You can have the most disagreeing set of denominations, the most disagreeing conservative liberal views, but when we share a baby in our arms, we are suddenly united as one people, recognizing the love of that child. and our love for that child. Christmas is my hope that we become human again. Christmas is my hope that we're restored to our original identity again. That we have peace with God, peace with each other, peace within ourselves. That we strive not to be over and apart and divided from, but we strive to surrender and be one with Him and ourselves and each other. That's the Christmas I'm waiting to unwrap. That's the Christmas I'm hoping for, is that we would no longer live in strife, but live in this great unity that He came to give to us. This place where His love casts out all fear, where His love removes all apprehensions of trusting not only Him, but each other to be the people that He's called us to be. See, God is famous for using the unlikely, the unqualified, the unusable. Every one of us in this room can be instruments of the Christ. Every one of us in this room can be instruments for peace if we allow ourselves to be pulled into the vacuum of the miracle of Bethlehem. Noah was a drunk. Abraham was too old. Isaac was a daydreamer. Jacob was a liar. Leah was ugly. Joseph was abused. Moses stuttered. Gideon was afraid. Samson's hair was too long. Rahab was a prostitute. Jeremiah was too young. David had an affair. Elijah was suicidal. Isaiah preached naked. Jonah ran from God. Naomi was a widow. Job went bankrupt. Peter denied the Christ. The disciples wouldn't keep praying. Martha worried about too many things. The Samaritan woman was divorced. Zacchaeus was too small. Paul was too religious. Timothy had an ulcer, and Lazarus was dead. But God will choose the unlikely and the unwanted to make known the Christ, who is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Every one of you in this room can be an instrument of the Christ, an instrument of His peace, an instrument of the birth of Jesus in your family and in your life. Stop waiting for the rulers to do it. Stop waiting for the denominations to do it. Stop waiting for the institutions to do it. You can reveal Jesus to someone in your world today. God uses things that we don't know to accomplish things we don't understand. And I find more truth. I find more truth at times in the silly Christmas mythical stories. I find more truth there. I find that most people have been duped so long by religion they can't recognize what's real. I find they've been duped so long with the Jesus they've been handled that they don't know the real. Kind of like Buddy. Play the one about real.
Christmas, all right?
You smell like beef and cheese. You don't smell like Santa.
Okay.
Oh! He's an imposter! He's a fake! He's a fake! He's a fake!
We need to rip the beard off of the fake religions of this world. We need to stand up and smell like you smell like cheese. That's not the real Jesus. That's not the real faith. The real faith wouldn't act like that. This is the real faith. We need to uncover it because we know what's real. We've been to the North Pole and back, right? We've been in the presence of God and back. We've spent time. Come on, we ought to be able to uncover not Santa Claus, but the fake Jesus that's been given to so many people. I'm not afraid of the fake Santa Claus, but I am afraid of the Jesus that most of the church has presented to the world. I am afraid of that legalistic thing. And I want to rip it off and go, no, wait a minute. Let me tell you that you really need to understand that all things are possible to him who believes.
What happened?
You made my sleigh fly.
What do you mean?
Well, before the turbine days, this baby used to run solely on Christmas spirit. You believed in me. You made my sleigh fly.
Hold, if you're really Santa Claus, then we can just get some news cameras in here and everyone will believe in you, then your sleigh will fly, right?
Christmas spirit is about believing, not seeing. The whole world saw me, all would be lost. The paparazzi have been trying to nail me for years.
Listen to me. We don't have to see the baby born in the manger to know the baby was born in the manger. We don't have to see the tomb empty to know that the tomb is empty. The spirit of Christmas, the spirit of knowing that God is with us, that's what makes everything work. Everything doesn't work because we show it to somebody or educate somebody. It works because we believe that Christ has died, Christ has risen, and Christ will come again. Where is our inspiration to believe in the dreams and the visions and the miracles of our life? Don't allow just the Santa Claus and the elf to have more belief than we do. My God, go home this afternoon, put the stupid movie on, watch it with your kids and go, let me tell you about what it means to believe in Jesus. Capture the unknown God and use it to your advantage. Quit fighting against it and use the thing. Because when you do, you open up the imagination for people to believe in the miraculous. That we can lay hands on people in a few minutes and they can be healed of that thing. That we can lay hands on people in a few minutes and something powerful happens. Listen to me. The world has been duped, particularly the church, of getting caught up in these arguments of this denomination, this right, this. When the truth of the matter is, I'm called to live in this mystical reality that God shows up as a baby in a manger. He walks out of a tomb, and that I'm filled with His Spirit, and that because I believe God, this thing can fly again. Anybody in the room? I know, some of you are going, I don't understand. It's because you don't have to understand. All you got to do is step out on the thing and, okay. If I haven't got you by now, I'm not going to get you. I love these things. Go to that last one. I want you to see this one here.
He knows if you're awake.
He knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. You better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. Just a little more!
Wait, you're not singing.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not. You're just moving your lips.
Michael, please, what's the big deal?
Dad?
Santa Claus is coming.
They know when you're just moving your lips. They know when you're just going through the emotions. They know when you're not really excited about the birth of Jesus. They know when you're just caught up in. Listen, they'll see through the facade of your fake faith. They'll see through that. Listen to me, Mom, Dad, Grandma, and Grandpa. We're supposed to be excited that Christ has been born and know that He still lives on the inside of us, and we ought to be singing about it. Listen, you shouldn't be standing there when you have no idea how blessed you are with a talent in this church. And when they start singing, I ought to hear you shouting the song. Hallelujah, Noel, oh my God. I can turn on a playlist and get happy in the shower. I got Cindy, I'm telling you. I know I got Cindy. What am I trying to do? It's Sunday before Christmas. Christmas is Wednesday. Some of you need to get happy finally. Some of you need to put a smile on your face. Listen, if I got money, I'm dangerous. You don't understand. I still got $115 in my Christmas account. I'm going to go blow it tomorrow. What are you talking about? As long as I got money, somebody getting something. You don't get what I'm saying. Well, you just give too much. You cannot do that. Jesus was given to me. You cannot do that. Have fun. Now, if you don't have anything, go get a rock. I've done it. Go get a rock and get some paints and paint the rock and give the rock away. But if you don't have anything, I helped you. You don't have to walk out of here. Well, I don't want to feel ashamed. Okay, sneak back. I'm serious. Sneak back. But for goodness sakes, don't allow the circumstances around you or your religious fuddy-duddies to rob you of the reality that Christ has come into your life. Make more fun out of the next couple of days than anything you can. I bring you good news this morning. I bring you good news. Christ has come to you. Christ has come to me. He didn't come to judge us. He came to die for us. He came to forgive us. I bring you good news of great joy. For all people, to you is born this day in the city of David a Savior. My God, a Savior has come to save His people from their sins, to save us from the hell that we deserve. I bring you great, great news of great, great joy. And I pray with all of my heart that you can experience it. You can have the passion for it. You can find it in Charlie Brown Christmas. You can find it in Elf or It's a Wonderful Life. You can find it somewhere. You can find it in sitting on the lap of the Santa Claus. You can find it somewhere. Rip the beard off of the fake Christmas that's been handed to you, not by the world, but by the church. Rip it off. Rip it off and uncover the reality of who He is. And learn these 3 lessons. I prepared this many years ago for children, and then I realized the children got it. It was the adults that walked out and didn't get it. So I took it this year, and I'm aiming it at you. Are you listening to me? Here are the 3 things I want you to learn. One more time. Here they come.
We learn how to build the latest in extreme graphic chipset processors. Let's recite the code of the elves, shall we? Number 1.
Treat every day like Christmas.
Number 2.
There's room for everyone on the nice list.
Number 3.
The best way to spread Christmas cheer is singing loud for all to hear.
What did Pastor preach? Here's the takeaway. Number 1, treat every day like it's Christmas. Treat every day like Christ has come to you. Number 2, there's room on the nice list for everyone. Number 3, the best way to do it is sing loud and clear so that everyone can hear. I think that's the 3 takeaways I want you to have as you head into Christmas in the next couple of days. Treat every day like it's a gift from God. Make sure that you don't have a naughty list for anybody. And number 3, sing it loud and clear so that all can hear. Father, I pray this morning that the simple words of my mouth would confront the Scrooges, the Pharisees, the stick-in-the-muds, the people that are looking in the wrong directions, that they would confront Buddy's father. They would confront a culture who has missed the point. My prayer this morning is we could recover the dreams, the mystic. We could recover the hope that God, you do the miraculous through unlikely people in unlikely places with an unlikely child. I pray this morning that we would recover that excitement, that awe, that feeling of being overwhelmed that you have come to us. I ask for that this morning in the name of Jesus.